Welcome, viewers. Syed and I are here again, and our democracy took a very, very major leap forward. And I say forward, we are going to discuss that today. We have been talking about all the things that we have been fracturing United States democracy. And United States is the spring, the beacon of Western democracy. All the countries that follow Western democracy, they take lead, they take light, they take guidance from the United States democracy. And as we have discussed in our previous segments, that there have been so many different problems. And last one we talked about that we are seeing one party in two different packages. There's so many similarities, and these parties agree on so many things that is uncanny. But there are certain things which are, I don't know if these are deliberate brand things or these are actually what these party people, followers, members do believe in. We're going to talk about that with Syed. And one particular topic that comes to mind, because Trump represents something very, very different than what Republican Democrats believe in. But there are certain things where Trump aligns with the Republicans and Democrats really oppose that. And we're talking about LGBTQ, which is a very, very, rapidly, it's like a bullet train kind of a phenomenon that has hit our society. Now, I will like to know what Syed has to say about it, and then we will continue this conversation. So, Syed, what do you say?
Thank you, Zad, for having me on your show. So it's a very sensitive issue when it comes to LGBTQ, right? This phenomena that's sort of being enforced in a very indirect way, in a very subtle way, but it's like you said, it's a bullet train phenomena. And as you must have seen, a lot of people it's a taboo, like this. People don't like to talk about this. They try to, divert from the main subjects, and people don't openly express their idea about the subject, even if they have so-called what they call conservative thinking or, progressive thinking. When it comes to conservative thinking, it's considered something that's against LGBTQ. It's considered that if you're conservative, people say that, but I would rather say that it's more of a naturalistic, approach to it. This is how we as human beings are supposed to look at it, because this is the basic phenomenon on which the fabric of society is built upon, right? That is, the basic makeup of the society. It depends on, it all, the family, excuse me, the concept of a biological family, right? It all is based upon the premise of, a biological mother and a biological father, right? So this is being, this concept is being distorted, especially in, amongst the very younger generation, children who are, all the way from kindergarten all the way to high school. And it's slowly being, brainwashed. And children, they spend most of their time in school, right? More than the parents, right? They spend most of the time. So this is where ideas about, if a child thinks, the option is being given to them that, if you think you're born in the wrong body, you can change yourself, you can modify yourself. You have that option if you think. So I would say that this is a very ludicrous phenomena that's being sort of ingrained in the children at a very young age, because when you are so vulnerable at that age. I mean, I still recall myself even at the age of 30, 35, I was not able to make decisions, like I would consider my parents, I would consider my friends. And it takes us a very long time to mature. So on the one hand, you have, like, in order to buy alcohol or cigarettes and stuff like that, the age is 18, and anything, and for, you're considered a full adult at the age of 21, but you're giving children this option at a very young age. So at a very vulnerable age, when they're moldable, you're giving them the option, like, if you feel like a girl or if you feel like a boy, like if you're not interested in, but so you're giving them that option. But I have seen children who have actually underwent surgeries and stuff, and their lives have completely been destroyed. They've been on, they have to stay on medication, hormone control pills all of their lives. And if you talk to them right now, there's many transgenders who actually regret their decision of going through surgeries and completely, degenerating their bodies to something that they were not actually, at birth, what they were born as. So this is if you for the American parents, right, that are sending their kids to public schools, this is one of the biggest fear that they have, that what they're being taught, and their voices are being silenced. Kids, it's you're not they're given a choice at a very young age. It's like the children are being taken away, they're being snatched away by the system from the parents, and they're giving them the option at a young age when their brains are not fully developed, and giving them the option that you can choose your gender. Whereas I'm going to give you one example here. For instance, back in the days, right, when I was in high school or when I was in middle school, there were kids who were very studious, very intelligent. They were not attracted towards women, right? They did not have girlfriends and stuff. So, kids would make fun of them, like call them nerds or, or dorks or some, like there was bullying going on in schools. And these kids were very, very good students, excellent students, intelligent students. Some would say that you're gay. So, you're interested in men perhaps. But these kids, later excelled and became, like C-suite executives in, some of the finest organizations when they grew up. But now what's going to happen is that if a kid is like studious or not into girls, and then they will be like, perhaps you're interested in the same sex, or so it's a and before this vlog, I just did a quick research on what the Torah and the original Old Testament and the New Testament are, and these are all considered abominations, such acts. So I'm trying to understand where we were headed as a whole country, as a society, that we were preaching. Even in Hollywood, there's shows that are they're threatened, or they have fear of being defunded if they don't have LGBTQ representation in morning shows and news. It's being enforced. So I'm trying to understand, what is the force behind this? Like, what is the agenda? Is it the agenda is to control population, or the agenda is to because sometime in the future we're going to have, if the population continues to grow at the same extent that it is right now, we're going to have food shortages, water shortages. So I'm trying to understand why this is being, and then I'm what I've heard from some of the people, some of the analysts, say that it's also being pushed by the Zionists as well. So I want you to please shed some light on this, and just so we can have a better understanding of what's behind this phenomenon. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So you said a lot in this deliberation. First of all, I want to say that I'm a very, very proud liberal and progressive, but I'm not a Democrat. We need to start drawing a line between this. We can't, lump it. If I'm a progressive or a liberal, it means I believe in human value, in the right to express themselves. I want to let them live, live and let live. I believe in all those things. They say your freedom ends where my nose starts. As long as you don't bother me, you do your things, I don't mind that. But the issue that we are talking here is a very complex issue, and it has many facets. It has religious aspect, it has political aspect, it has a social aspect. So it is a multifarious issue. I must say that United States over time has become a lobbying country. You lobby here, you can lobby anything. You have money, you have power, you can do that. And two segments or two sectors of economy or society have done very, very well in that. One is the marijuana or weed. They've done very well in terms of lobbying, and they gain so much traction, and they gain so much in terms of legislation, all that. Second is the LGBTQ issue. Now, and they've become, very, very rapidly accepted in certain segments of the society. Now, You talked about Zionists, you talked about Hollywood, you talked about the two aspects to it. Number one, there is my personal freedom, there is my personal choice, there is a thing that whatever I want to do within the confines of my privacy, my house, whatever I want to do, that is my choice. As a community, whatever that community wants to do within certain confines, it is their choice, whatever they want to do. Likewise, you can expand it, and we can see that. But when you start enforcing something as an ideology, as you need to see who controls the segments or the centers of power, so to say, who controls the finances or money, who controls the media, and who controls educational institutions. These three very, very important sectors or areas of our life, our country, are controlled by very, very powerful people. In many cases, there are so many demented people among them that when Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner become your heroes, and they become multi-millionaire, and if I'm a hardworking, a simple man with a family that I need to feed, and I can't make more than $100,000, no matter how much harder I work. 1%, under 20,000, you cross that and you become 1% people. So 99% of Americans do not even dream of making the kind of money these demented people are making. You may like them, it's a personal choice. You go ahead and do that. But as a society, if you're bringing it to schools and if you're enforcing and you're making legislation and you are, shoving it down through media, that is unacceptable. That is against your First Amendment rights. It's against your free speech because you're being bombarded from everywhere. And how does that even become an issue for one of the two major, issues for both, but wedge, their platform thing for one of the two major political parties? How do Democrats own this? People here are struggling to make their living, to bring food on the table for their family. They're losing their houses. I was reading the comparison between the past and now, inflation, the subsistence level, the buyers, purchasing power. So much has changed in terms of putting pressure on people. When I'm struggling for that, how do I care, or why should I care about these issues? These should not be on my ballot. These should not be in my school. Facebook is one of those that started with it. It's complicated. The relationship profiles. And the next thing came is the gender profiles. Who runs Facebook? Who owns Facebook? Who funds Facebook? And likewise, other mainstream media, where you call them liberals or progressive, but they don't. So the Democrats pick these as their wedge issues. They promote this as well. I am not against personal liberties or personal choice. You're free to choose whatever you want. But since when it became a political issue? If we are bombing people, the kids, the civilians, the weak, old people all over the world, and we're giving money to other countries who are bombing them, and that is not an issue for us. LGBTQ, which is a very, very minor, and I sympathize with them. As far as religion is concerned, God says God created the whole world, the humanity, from a man and a woman. And if you remember, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, the tradition goes that Sodom and Gomorrah and all those others who were engaged in, and that's where the word sodomy came from, so they engaged into this thing, and God's wrath, punished them. You may be a religious person, you may not be a religious person. The point is how much you want to go and control an individual's freedom. That's where you need to draw the line and leave LGBTQ to LGBTQ. Don't make other people do that. Don't force. These doctors make money. If you go and you do this operation, somebody makes money. Somebody gets rich by doing that. So why would you not promote that? You know, this is where the state, the responsible organization, the peoples, the communities, their function comes in. They need to exert that. They need to recognize and identify that is this really an issue in our society? 325, 330 million people live in this country. How many are, you know, affected? We are all affected by that. But how many are a victim in terms of sexual orientation? You know, they may have natural or born tendencies into it. I don't know if it's natural or not, but they may have born tendencies. I sympathize with them. There must be cure for that. There must be something that can be done, and they have a freedom to choose how they want to choose it. But inflicting upon others using peer pressure, using education, media, and legislation to inflict this upon others, that can never be right. And then it's our democracy is fractured for so many of such reasons, which do not even have an issue. These are non-issues as far as we see. So I don't really know why we made them an issue.
Well, Ziad Saab, you covered it in a very nice way, how democracy is attached to this LGBTQ rights as well, and how everything is politicized to gain momentum, in the political world. How I see inclusion is like, for instance, what for me inclusion is like if you have a student in class, right? If he's not eating or drinking, the other students should be mindful and aware of why this student is not drinking or eating on that specific day, or why a student is not eating beef, or why a student is not eating pork, and be, respective of that, or why a girl is wearing a hijab, or, why a student is celebrating Hanukkah or something, like these are the things that that is what makes us inclusive. But when it comes to being a gay, a bisexual, a lesbian, that is someone's personal choice. And that choice has always been there. But individuals have always selected, and people have never had problem with that. But when you enforce that at the national level, that's where it becomes a problem. And it's, that's where you're sort of meddling with the whole, the net that holds the society together. So that's where you're actually tearing it apart. And I think the step that's taken by Donald Trump, where he said that if any student or any teacher, if he hears a complaint against him, that's, telling the student or, brain feeding this kid that if you have that option of becoming a boy or a girl, that will be civil rights violations, and he will also pass a legislation. I think this is the one step where there is no hypocrisy involved, and I appreciate his courage in taking this lead on this matter. This does not mean that he is actually going against any LGBTQs, which have always been a part of our society. They will always be there, and we all should have no problems with them. But then when it comes to enforcing them upon innocent little children whose brain have not fully developed is where people have had issues and parents have had issues. So that's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Sayed, unfortunately, or I don't know if we should even involve fortune into this, a lot of this is political fluff. Education, for example, is a state issue. It's not really so much federal. States have to decide how they want to legislate, how they want to, pass the curriculum, or what kind of curriculum they want to use. So I don't know if Donald Trump will be able to do much there. But he has promises. He's made promises. What I would like to say is when we snatch hard-earned money, blood and sweat of the hardworking Americans, and we give it to foreign countries to bomb, and we give them weapons to bomb innocent children and innocent civilians, our issues are much bigger than that. This is hypocrisy on both parties' part. Both of them have, turned their eye from this and got involved into trivial issues like LGBTQ, which is really a non-issue. They should have focused on saving life. You're pro-life, and you care so much about life, as you say. You should have focused on that, not on this thing. So I'm not really sure if Donald Trump or anybody else will be able to do it unless we, as collective people, we get up and we want to do it in our states, in our localities. That's where it will happen. Thank you very much for joining us. Write to us, participate, and give us your feedback so we make it better. Syed and I will be back with another episode of our Fractured Democracy. Until then, thank you.